Y'all can sing the oohs too, all right? Because you probably learned it by now.
Please be seated now. Our service is about to begin.
That sounded very bossy, David.
Please. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the South Jersey Shore, a welcoming and inclusive community. We kindly ask you to turn off your cell phones. Our service is open to all visitors, friends, and members. Whether you're single, partnered, or a family of any type, we welcome you. Whether you're here in the sanctuary with us, watching live online, or on demand, may our time together be one of learning and celebration. My name is David Fenimore. I'm your worship associate this morning. I've been a member of the congregation for something like 2 years. Wow, time flies. Whew. I currently serve as a member of the Committee on Ministry and the choir, usually, and attend the writers group and the men's group. Today, our worship service is led by Stephanie Garrett. In case you don't know, Stephanie is a founding member of this congregation, UU for over 30 years. Stephanie says she was born again at the UU Church of the Restoration, renamed the UU Church in Mount Airy, Philadelphia. She's currently a member and past co-president of the UU Fellowship of Charlotte County, Florida, where she spends 5 months out of every year. We'll look forward to that. Video of today's service will be available on our YouTube channel later today. And to those of you gathered live on Facebook, we welcome your comments as well as your joys and concerns on that platform. Please remember that this video will be on the internet, so do not share information best kept private. We have 2 announcements this week. First one begins with a question: what does it mean to be a covenantal faith? What even is a covenant? Bring your coffee and your questions to next week's Adult Religious Education Workshop titled Coffee and Covenant at 12 p.m. next Sunday, September 21st in the library. And the second announcement is from the caring team. The caring team would like to update the list of people willing to help out with their activities, such as making meals, helping people going through a loss, medical challenges, surgery, etc. Questionnaires are available in the lobby, or you can see Helen or Tracy or any other caring team member. There's a list of them in the insert in your order of service. Next Sunday, join us for Backyard National Park. I love that title. Backyard National Park will be presented by Kit Marlowe. Welcome to worship.
My guitar is being temperamental and I cannot play a song for you. Ooh, that was the really big sucker. What wondrous love is this, oh my soul? takes away the pain of my soul. When I was sinking down, sinking down, sinking down. When I was sinking down, sinking down. When I was sinking down beneath my sorrow's crown. Friends to me gather round, oh my soul, oh my soul. Friends to me gather round, oh my soul. Oh. To love and to all friends, I will sing, I will sing. To love and to all friends, I will sing. To love and to all friends who pain and sorrow mend, with thanks until the end, I will sing with thanks, and to the end, I will sing. I will sing. I will sing.
Come into this place of peace and let its silence heal your spirit. Come into this place of memory and let its history warm your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power and let its vision change your heart. Our chalice lighter today is Lorraine Markowski. Please join me in reading the chalice lighting words in your order of service. We hallow this time together by kindling the lamp of our heritage. Please rise now in body and or spirit and sing our gathering hymn, number 360, Here We Have Gathered.
Side
talking about this time of history, this place of history. That hymn is almost 500 years old, that tune.
As many of you know, I am a storyteller. It's my second or third job after I retired in Cape May. And we tell stories at bed and breakfasts, and also we have done larger presentations at libraries. The most recent one was on the Harlem Renaissance. So ask me any questions about that afterwards. I came across this folk tale. It's an African folk tale. Well, it's an American folk tale from the American South. And as I read it, I said, aha, I can play with this. Does anyone know why the owl never sleeps at night? Have you noticed that whenever a creature starts in this world with a habit, it stays with him all his life? Whether the creatures have 2 legs or 4 legs or more legs, it works just the same. Another thing is that if you want to see anything, you must open your eyes. There's the case of the owl. At the very first, he was like all other birds. He had the same kind of eyes as other birds, and he flew around and sang in the daytime. And when it came dark, he went to roost and stuck his head under his wings and slept until daybreak, just like the others. But it wasn't long before he got into the habit of sitting up nights and calling out, "Hoo, hoo." And he never has stopped that to this day. Here's what happened. During the week that the creatures were all created and were just learning how to keep house, the good Lord noticed that there was something going on wrong at night, and he felt mighty nervous about the whole thing. One morning, he found the pig's tail curled up. The deer's tail and the goat's tail were cut off clean. The possum and the rat had their hair all pulled off their tails. The duck lost his 4 legs, the snake had lost all of his, and the guinea hen and the cobbler, the turkey, had lost all of the hair off their heads. Nobody knew what was going to happen next. God had a suspicion that it was some of old Nick's doings. But he never said anything to anybody. He just asked the owl if he wouldn't stay up at night and keep a lookout and see what the matter was and how it was happening. And the owl, he said he'd be mighty proud to stay up, only he's afraid he couldn't see very well in the dark. Then God told him that all he had to do to see in the dark is to open his eyes wider. So they fixed it up that way. And when it turned dark, the owl never went to bed. He just opened his eyes a little wider and got out in the open where he could look around over the countryside. And every time he got a little darker, the owl would open his eyes a little wider. And he didn't ever have any trouble seeing all the goings on. And sure enough, along about midnight, he saw old Nick tying knots in the horse's mane. And the owl cried out, "Hoo, hoo, hoo." With that, old Nick was scared that he ran away and left the horses and struck out across the country in the dark. But the owl opened his eyes wider than ever, and he followed after him. And every once in a while, he would call out, "Hoo, hoo, hoo." Well, he sure scared old Nick away. But when it came day, Mr. Owl had his eyes open so wide that he couldn't shut them. and the bright sun gave him a terrible headache. Then the good Lord told the owl that as he had been up all night before, he could just find a shady place and sleep all day to make up for the loss of sleep at night. But when night came around again, the owl was rested and he didn't have a headache anymore, and he felt so wide awake that he stayed up that night too. And after that, he got the habit, and he's had it ever since. And now, the magic word is woke. We all hear the word woke. Let me tell you the origin of the word woke. Woke meant, back in the day, and we're going back to the 1920s and the 30s, people of color, and I can add the Hispanics and the Native Americans in that too. It's called the sundown law, and you had to be out of town by sundown. And if you got caught at night, you had to be woke, aware, hearing things, seeing things, but being very quiet. You had to be woke. That's the positive use of the term, okay? So now we're all going to be woke people, and we're all going to say, yes, there's nothing wrong with being woke. Thank you.
We welcome all young people or those young at heart present here today to join us in the RE Learning Lab, where we'll learn about and explore our UU shared values and grow our faith together through discussion, cooperation, and creativity. We will now light the children's religious education lantern, and then we'll meet in the foyer just outside the sanctuary doors. We light this lantern for our children and youth and for us, celebrating the flame of faith lighted in each of us, honoring the light each of us brings into the world, rejoicing in the community that we create together.
We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. And your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go.
A book is provided in the foyer in which you are invited to write whatever joys and sorrows you have as you enter. I will now read what you have shared. I love you all, especially today. Lorraine. I have a joy and sorrow to share. My daughter was married last Saturday. It was a great weekend. I have pictures if anyone wants to see. And someone in my immediate family has developed a severe recurrence of his bladder cancer. I humbly ask my friends to pray for my daughter's happiness and for my family member to recover from this latest recurrence. Thank you so much, Gay Lindenbaum. Let us share a quiet time together to reflect upon the week. During the musical interlude, you may come forward and place a pebble in the water to acknowledge a personal joy or sorrow. The pastoral prayer today is by Maya Angelou on taking time for ourselves. Each person deserves a day away in which no problems are confronted, no solutions searched for. Each of us needs to withdraw from the cares which will not withdraw from us. A day away acts as a spring tonic. It can dispel rancor, transform indecision, and renew the spirit. Every week, we take up an offering during our service. It's good to remind ourselves from time to time that the offering is symbolic as well as practical. We know that it is through pledges that we build our budget and fund our yearly programs and ministries of worship and religious education, pay our staff and professional religious leaders, and finance the comfort and beauty of our building. If this is your first time visiting us today, feel free to let the basket pass, as your presence is gift enough. For those who are participating online, please visit uucsjs.org and click on the yellow donate button for ways to donate. Our offering says that the act of giving is as essential to our spiritual well-being as anything else we do here on Sunday mornings. The morning offering will now be given and received in the spirit of grateful fellowship. I'll introduce our message today with words from the Dalai Lama, who says, "This is my simple religion. No need for temples, no need for complicated philosophy. Your own mind, your own heart is the temple. Your philosophy is simple. Kindness."
There it is. I have to have the clock in front of me. Those of you that know me know I can talk, okay? There's a joke that the Unitarians would start to look at their watches if I went too far. And the Universalists would listen to the message, okay? So the clock is there, and I have a good long time. I've been a UU for just about 30 years. I remember the day that I signed the book. It was 1992. I was in Philadelphia as a member of the then called the Church of the Restoration, which is, and I didn't know this, the difference between a church, a congregation, and a society, and a fellowship. A fellowship means that you intentionally do not have a minister. We don't have one in Florida now, but we have had one. But when it was initially established back in the 60s, it was a fellowship because they didn't want a minister. Church, if I see the word church, I know that it is a historically universalist congregation. A universalist could be a Baptist or a Methodist. The term universalist, and I like the term, means that everyone goes in the same cycle. If there's an afterlife, we're all gonna go, okay? Unitarian meant one God, like Jews, like Muslims, one God. And when it came time to name this congregation, for those of you that were around then, there were many, many, many conversations about what to call ourselves. And I can say I gave you the long title, UU Congregation of the South Jersey Shore, because we were it, and we still are for all of South Jersey. But in print, we call ourselves the UU Center, right? Okay, got that straight. When I first became a UU, we had a course called Building Your Own Theology. And it was to help people like me that came from another religion to clear up our minds, get rid of the tunnel vision. And that's why I like this little light, because it opened up my mind. During that year, I heard about a woman by the name of Francis Ellen Watkins Harper. Had never heard of her before. She was an early Unitarian. Believe it or not, back in the 1800s, there were people of color that actually were part of our denomination. But her history was very, very different. She was born free in Baltimore in 1825. She came from an educated black family. She was orphaned very early, about 14, 13, and she ended up with her aunt and uncle. It was interesting that the schools that she went to, a black school, of course, was known for its emphasis on biblical studies, the classics, and elocution. I went to Howard University, and I actually studied portions of the Bible in philosophy because it was a history of a people, not the Word of God, literally. We also had speech at Howard when I went as a required course, regardless of your major. I didn't take Greek. I'd already taken French, so we skipped that part. I'd still be an undergrad if we had to. At age 14, Francis Ellen Watkins Harper was employed and with a white family, and they had a library in the house. And once they discovered that she really could read, she was permitted to read the library. By 1845, she had composed enough poems to have a book published, Forest Leaves, and the other one is Poems on Miscellaneous Subjects, which is still available in the Beacon Press bookstore, by the way. She was good. 10,000 copies of her book were sold, and a second edition was published. She was part of the abolitionist movement because she was black and she was free and she knew how the others were being taught or treated. She ended up marrying and then becoming a widower about 4 years later. You know how that goes. So she had his kid and her kid. And back in the day, women had no rights. So if you were a widow and your husband owed money, all the people, all the creditors came and cleaned out your house of whatever they wanted. Okay, and you say, oh, but I remember in the 1950s, women couldn't have a credit card in their own name. Okay, that wasn't that long ago. She was so good at speaking that she became a part of the women's suffrage movement. And as the only black, she was the only person of color, only person who was paid to speak. So she was in the South and in the North as a speaker. We knew her, I learned about her, and then a miracle happened, and it only happened one time. Back in, I'm going to guess, 1993 or 94, the UUA had its first and only all-black UU conference. And it was held in Philadelphia. There are three congregations in Philadelphia. Restoration, First Church, which was the congregation that Francis Ellen joined, and then the Germantown Unitarian Society. So there were three of us. And you can assume my congregation at the time was very integrated. It had integrated in 1959. And by the time I came along, I'd have to say it was pretty much 50-50 and still is today. Because of the neighborhood it was in an integrated community, so therefore, I was really surprised that people of color were surprised that we had black people on the board, we had a black president, we had a gay minister, you know, and this was back in the 90s. We were different. The purpose of that national conference was to find out what people wanted, people of color were looking for in terms of our denomination, to help them to kind of direct some people who were kind of not quite sure, and maybe we might be happier in our own place. I've heard that so many times. We actually had a conference. We had a celebration of being African American and being UU. All three of the congregations participated, by the way. Francis Ellen Watkins Harper died in Philadelphia, and she's buried in the Eden Cemetery, which is a black cemetery in Delaware County. But she never had a tombstone. Somewhere, someone found an African American woman who was a carver and carved the tombstone. And that was the end of our conference. We all went out to celebrate her and to place a tombstone at her grave. And that really meant a lot to me. One of the other things that I learned in building your own theology, and it's an old course, and it is my preferred course even today, if you don't know anything about UU. It's not about us, it's about you, helping you to open up your mind. This is a news article that I wrote recently, which is why some of you didn't get the newspaper, because you'll recognize it's part of the sermon today. We seem as a country to be experiencing major changes, in some cases upheavals. Upheavals affecting race, religion, sex, sexual orientation, application of established law in our Constitution have become the daily norm. It's a different reading of what we all grew up to understand that are being interpreted differently today. Our form of government and the very history of our country are being rewritten again. We are all in the melting pot which populated this country, but all are not acknowledged. It always bothers me when people talk about the immigrants, and I said, you folks are all immigrants. I'm not an immigrant, I had no choice, okay? But the rest of you came from someplace else. The Native American and Hispanic indigenous people had been here for thousands of years before. And so I really get a little with that term. It really bothers me. Francis Ellen Watkins Harper, 1825 to 1911, was a free, educated woman of color, published poet, author of fiction, nonfiction, suffragist, and public speaker, abolitionist, and Unitarian. She delivered a portion of what I'm going to read at the 11th National Women's Rights Convention held in New York in May of 1866. The following is the major passage and the title of her presentation. And when I read this, I've read this so many times and it never hit me until today. And I'm only going to read a paragraph. We are all bound up together in one great bundle of humanity. And society cannot trample on the weakest and the feeblest of its members without receiving the curse in its own soul. You tried that in the case of the Negro. You pressed him down for 2 centuries. And in so doing, you crippled the moral strength and paralyzed the spiritual enemies of the white men of the country. When the hands of the black were fettered, white men were deprived of the liberty of speech and the freedom of the press. Society cannot afford to neglect the enlightenment of any class of its members. At the South, the legislation of the country was in behalf of the rich slaveholders, while the poor white man was neglected. What is the consequence today? From that very class of neglected poor white men comes the man who stands today with his hand upon the helm of the nation. He fails to catch the watchword of the hour and throws himself, the incarnation of meanness, across the pathway of the nation. My objection to Andrew Johnson is not that he has been a poor white man. My objection is that he keeps poor wits all the way through. That is the trouble with him. Today, aspects of the 14th Amendment, which address many aspects of citizenship and rights of citizens, are being challenged. This includes the same thing again: women's issues, voting, same-sex marriage. I even remember it was around 1984 when it was okay for an integrated couple to marry. That was illegal in Virginia. That was the last state, the last holdout in 1964. Think about that. And now we're going backwards. Our immigration policies, which I did research, and I found out that almost every group that came over here from Europe were discriminated against. First, there were the Puritans who didn't like the Catholics, all right? Then there were the Irish who didn't like the Italians. And it was the same thing, and it got to be too many. Oh, we got to change our immigration policy. Well, today, it's being looked at all over again. And it's sad. We're going backward. The first time I read her speech, I said, it sounded like she was talking about today. But when Abraham Lincoln was killed, Andrew Jackson became the president. And back then, you didn't have to be in the same political party. And so we went forward, and then we were pulled back by Reconstruction, hard and fast. And that didn't get cleaned up probably until about the 60s in terms of black people. And we still have issues today. One thing I had to do, have you ever taken Ancestry.com, the DNA? Well, guess what? We are all one great big bundle. You know, it was amazing. My predominant gene pool is Nigerian, but the other, and I'm gonna say it, 1/4 were Belgian, Irish, Scottish, Britain, okay? So when people have an issue with us moving in, I say, take a DNA test. You may shock yourself, okay? All right? And it wasn't by choice. It wasn't by choice. It had nothing to do with love. It had to do with ownership and the right to do whatever you wanted to do. Not only for people of color, but for all women. We were all in the same boat as second-class citizens. My concern now, and I have two and they're little people, 2 great-grandchildren. What is their future going to be? I have been through so many presidents. In fact, the first one I remember was Truman, because he integrated the military. And that was a big deal. But I've been through so many presidents, and we seem to have been slowly moving forward. And now it's like, boom, okay? And I'm concerned about what we will leave for them, my kids, and what can we and I do about it? And that's my ending thought for today. I rewrote the words to This Little Light of Mine for another sermon, because when I signed that book and took the course, Building Your Own Theology, my mind opened, and I was a sociologist, so it was supposed to be open anyway. but it was really open to acceptance of differences. How we get back to that and how we instill that in our kids and in our society, I have no idea, but I know, yes we can, yes we can, yes we can. Thank you.
Please rise in body or spirit to sing our closing hymn. The lyric is in the order of service as well as it's going to be right now up on that. I think it is. Awesome. This little light.
Our closing words today, thank you, Stephanie, for all of it, were chosen by Stephanie, as much of the rest of the service was. Our closing words today are written by Langston Hughes, seminal figure of the Harlem Renaissance. Langston Hughes says, "Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field, frozen in snow." Let's read the words together for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Leave your truth or fall behind. Cloud confusion disappear. Wake up and face your fears. Only you can go the distance, facing your resistance, open to a new way. When you do, the door will open, pointing you to find your way back home. has come for growing, the dawning of a new age. My cry for help lovingly answered, surprised to find I never was alone. Oh no, but da 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 da. Dum dum dum, da da, boom 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 boom, ba da ba da ba da ba.
I felt like I was flying 10,000 feet in the air. We warmly welcome all of you who are visiting us today. Please come back. Now let us share in a moment of silent reflection to consider today's message and the meaning it has in our lives.